Since childhood, I had always feared the dark, not the kind of passing discomfort that lingers for a moment before bedtime. No, this was something primal, something clawing, something ancient. It was a terror that burrowed deep into the marrow of my bones and throbbed like a drumbeat when the lights went out. In the silence of night, I imagined things lurking just beyond my vision, their breath warm and damp on the nape of my neck. I would hear soft creaks in empty corners, floorboards sighing, as if bearing weight that wasn't mine. This fear haunted me into my 20s. I would laugh it off, of course, brushing it away like cobwebs, but inside, the child in me still flinched at every flicker of shadow. I'd always keep a nightlight by my bed or leave a sliver of the hallway light bleeding under the door. Darkness, real and complete, was a realm I refused to enter. It wasn't just a fear, it was a certainty. I felt it in the pit of my stomach whenever I was forced to cross a room after sunset. The darkness wasn't empty. It watched. It listened. Something lived in the void. I was sure of it. Something waiting for my guard to slip. Then one night, I had a dream. It started ordinarily enough. I rose from bed into a world so lucid, so tangibly real, that I didn't question it. The air was still, the room warm, the floor beneath my feet cold but grounding. I walked through my apartment, performing mundane tasks, washing dishes, checking emails, folding clothes. The comfort of routine lulled me into a false sense of peace. That was when I saw her. She appeared in the hallway, backlit by the amber glow of a fading sun. She was stunning, a silhouette of curves and poise, a vision with smoldering eyes and cascading dark hair. Her breasts, full and firm, hinted through a tight black top, teasing the limits of imagination. She moved with grace and confidence, her every step a soft whisper on the wooden floor. Her presence was surreal, magnetic. We spoke briefly. I can't recall the words, only the sensation, warmth, allure, a pull like gravity. She smiled at me like she knew every thought I had before I spoke it. There was an almost timeless quality to her, as if she belonged in this place in a way I didn't. Her scent lingered in the air, jasmine, and something darker, smokier, that stirred a nameless need in my chest. Then the dream shifted. Evening fell like a shroud. The light drained from the world unnaturally fast, as though the sun had been snatched from the sky. One moment, everything was bathed in warm light, and the next, the corners of the room darkened like ink spreading in water. I turned on a lamp. The bulb flickered, then died with a pop, plunging the room into darkness. That was when I heard it, a soft, dragging sound, like claws scraping against wood. Then, a whisper of breath, not mine. I spun around. Nothing. Then came the creak. It echoed down the hallway, sharp, deliberate, footsteps, unmistakable. They grew louder with each passing second, as though someone, no, something, was approaching slowly, savoring every moment. My heart pounded. I could hear it in my ears, an irregular thudding beat that seemed to sync with the slow rhythm of the approaching steps. I flipped on the kitchen light. A scream, high-pitched, furious, and close, so close. It was as if the darkness itself recoiled and howled in rage at the intrusion of light. I fell back, scrambling. Something was angry, not just agitated, but enraged by the light, like it had scorched its unseen eyes. The air thickened with dread. I couldn't breathe. I ran. I didn't look back. I couldn't. Some deep instinct screamed that to see it, to truly see it, would shatter whatever protection I had left. I reached my bedroom and slammed the door shut. The lock clicked, but I knew it wouldn't matter. Outside, silence returned. But it wasn't peaceful. It was the silence of held breath, of anticipation. I backed away from the door. Then the whisper came, so close. "I see you." The voice was feminine, low, and echoing, as if spoken inside a vast cavern. But it wasn't soothing. It was sharp as ice, laced with venom and hunger. My knees buckled. I turned on the lamp by the bed. Nothing happened. Dead. The digital clock beside it was blank. I was encased in darkness. Then, bang! The door jolted, just once, so hard it cracked down the middle. I screamed. It wasn't over. The air inside the room thickened, and a pressure built around me like the swell before an earthquake. The shadows on the ceiling churned and twisted like smoke, forming vague shapes. Limbs, mouths, eyes that blinked open and shut. My skin crawled. I turned to the window, considering escape, but the outside world had vanished. Nothing but blackness, as if the apartment floated in a sea of void. A second bang. The door split along the center. A long obsidian claw poked through the gap, curling and clicking against the frame. I backed up until my legs hit the bed. That's when I saw the first sliver of it. Through the broken door frame, something stood just beyond. Its body was humanoid, but massive, covered in rows of jagged, interlocking spikes. Its form shimmered, like a silhouette coated in oil, ever shifting and reflecting nothing. It exuded cold, not air-conditioned chill, but the kind of cold that seeps into your bones and turns breath into fog. Its eyes, if you could call them that, glowed faintly red in the center of its head, not wide and round, but long and vertical, like slits burned into the dark. And when it moved, it did so with the grace of smoke and the weight of a nightmare. I opened my mouth to scream, but no sound came. I stumbled backward, trying to grab something, anything, to defend myself. My hand found the bedside lamp again. I yanked the cord from the wall and flung it toward the door. The moment the lamp hit the floor, the thing shrieked again. But this time it wasn't rage, it was anticipation. Everything went black. I woke up gasping for air. Sweat soaked the sheets beneath me, and the room felt colder than it should have. My body ached, not from physical strain, but from the rawness of unspent terror. For a moment, I believed I had escaped the nightmare, that it was over, that everything was fine. But then I noticed the silence, too complete. The clock on the wall blinked 0000, again and again. My phone on the nightstand refused to power on. No hum of electricity, no sounds from the street outside. Just an empty, oppressive stillness pressing on all sides. I turned on the lamp. Nothing. And just like that, I knew. I had never woken up at all. The dream had looped. My breath caught in my throat as I pushed off the sheets and stood. This time, I moved slower, cautious. The world looked identical to before. Same messy desk, same flickering shadows beyond the threshold of the hallway. But everything felt slightly off, as if someone had copied my apartment from memory and gotten the details just a little bit wrong. The pictures on the wall seemed lower. The table had an extra leg. The hallway was longer. And then came the footsteps. They were faint at first, like something pacing far off in a neighboring apartment. I froze, listened. One step, another. Then silence. I tiptoed toward the kitchen. My bare feet made no sound on the cold linoleum. I reached for the light switch, even though I already knew what would happen. I flicked it. A short flicker. Then that scream, furious and close. I recoiled as shadows lunged across the floor. Something scraped violently against the counter just behind me. I turned, expecting to see the creature, but it was gone. Just smears of blackness on the tile that vanished as quickly as they appeared. I ran again, this time out the front door. It opened easily, too easily, and led not into the hallway of my building, but into an endless, looping corridor of flickering lights and peeling wallpaper. Doors lined each side, everyone numbered 000. I ran down the hallway, trying each handle as I passed. All locked, all cold. Then came the sounds. Not footsteps this time. A slithering, wet, and deliberate. I glanced over my shoulder, and it was there. A shadow detached itself from the far wall and began to move toward me. It didn't run. It floated, somehow both graceful and violent in its motion. Its eyes locked to mine, red, hungry, gleaming like coals fanned to flame. I turned and sprinted. The hallway stretched impossibly long, the end always just out of reach. I could hear it behind me, scraping claws on plaster, the guttural exhale like wind blowing through broken reeds. One door opened. I dove through it without thinking. Darkness inside, a single bulb flickering above a spiral staircase that wound downward into nothingness. I took the steps, 2 at a time, dizzy from the descent, my breath ragged and my vision tunneling. The sound of pursuit never faded. I could hear the thing descending after me, matching my pace, never faster, never slower. I emerged into a basement of rusted pipes and leaking steam. Shadows writhed across the floor, as if alive. I slipped on something slick and fell hard, scraping my palm. Blood. It smelled it. A growl vibrated through the walls. I crawled behind a stack of old boxes and tried to stay quiet. My breath came in quick, shallow bursts. My pulse thudded in my ears. Through a gap in the crates, I saw it move into the room. Taller now, leaner, like it had grown. Its spikes clicked softly against one another as it moved, each step calculated and slow. It turned its head toward my hiding spot. I stopped breathing. It stood motionless for a long, agonizing moment. Then it spoke. "I'm getting closer." The voice was a whisper, feminine, familiar. It turned and vanished into the next room. I didn't wait to understand. I bolted in the opposite direction, my legs screaming with exhaustion. A staircase loomed ahead. I climbed it, every muscle on fire. It led into a hallway of mirrors. I stopped. Reflections stretched in every direction. I saw myself in hundreds of fragments. But not all the images matched me. Some were wrong. In one reflection, I was smiling. In another, my eyes were missing. In one, I was walking, except I was still standing still. Then I saw her, the woman from the first dream, naked, beautiful, standing still behind one of the mirrored panels. She reached toward me from the glass, her eyes pleading. I touched the mirror and fell through. I landed on my back in my bedroom. The lamp beside me buzzed and flickered to life. I sat up, gasping. It was morning. No darkness, no creature, no endless hallway. Just peace. But deep inside, I knew it wasn't real. Not yet. This was just another layer of the dream. And the darkness was coming back. I got out of bed again, but this time with more urgency. I moved through the apartment, searching for anything that might indicate how to break free. Every item felt just a bit off. Photos of people I didn't know, books with blank pages, a TV that played nothing but static and whispers. The air shimmered near the windows, as if reality itself were thinning. I opened the fridge and found it completely empty, save for a single black rose. When I touched it, it disintegrated into ash. Then, from somewhere deep in the walls, I heard the creature hum, not sing, human, a deep, resonant tone that vibrated through my bones. It was slow, haunting, almost comforting, and that terrified me more than anything else. I followed the hum, not by choice, not at first. My body seemed to move of its own volition, drawn forward through the apartment, as if something in that sound called to something deep inside me. My hand trembled as I reached for the doorknob leading to the hallway. I expected resistance, another dream trick, but it turned easily beneath my palm. Outside, the hallway no longer resembled my apartment building. The floor was polished obsidian, like a mirror reflecting the murky ceiling above. Wall sconces cast dull red light that pulsed like a heartbeat. A fine mist hung in the air, obscuring everything past a few feet. The hum grew louder. Each note seemed to resonate in my chest, vibrating through my ribs. It was mournful, almost seductive, like someone singing a lullaby, too slow and low for children. Then I saw her again. At the far end of the corridor, standing in a pool of crimson light, the woman. Her form was unchanged, elegant, ethereal, draped in liquid shadow. Her hair spilled over her shoulders like ink, her eyes glowing softly beneath a veil of darkness. She didn't move. She just watched me. I took a step forward, then another. As I neared her, I realized something strange. The fear hadn't returned, not like before. I could feel the pressure of the darkness all around me, but it no longer suffocated me. It enveloped instead, like a heavy blanket pulled tight around my shoulders. "Why are you doing this to me?" I asked. Her voice came not from her lips, but from all around me. "Because you are ready." I stared at her, confused. "Ready for what?" "To see," she replied. "To remember." The darkness pulsed. The floor rippled under my feet like water. My head swam. I stumbled, reaching out to steady myself against the wall, but it wasn't there anymore. The entire corridor had melted away. I now stood in a vast chamber, black as space, where the ground dissolved into nothing. Only the woman remained, floating several feet above the abyss. Her body shimmered, and the black latex suit returned, hugging her in all the right ways. But it was more than alluring. It was mesmerizing. The way the shadows clung to her curves made her look otherworldly, unreal, yet somehow the most real thing I'd ever seen. "I've been waiting," she whispered, drifting toward me. "For what?" I asked again, barely able to keep my voice steady. "For you to stop running." She reached out and touched my cheek. Her fingers were cool, but not cold. The moment her skin met mine, the nightmares stopped. The sound of claws, the screams, the endless pursuit. They all vanished like mist in the sun. In their place, warmth, a pulse, my own heartbeat, steady for the first time. "You feared what you didn't understand," she said. "You were taught to fear the dark, but it's always been part of you." Her other hand slid down my arm, slow and deliberate, until it reached my fingers. She laced hers through mine. "What are you?" I whispered. She leaned close. Her breath tickled my neck. "I am your fear and your desire." With those words, the chamber around us changed again. The void filled with stars. A galaxy spun above us. We were in a celestial sea, floating on a bed of shadow. The sensation was overwhelming. Beauty and terror blended into one. She brought her lips to mine, and I didn't resist. Her kiss was soft at first, then hungry, filled with a desperate intensity that mirrored my own. My hands found her waist, and her body melted into mine, skin to skin, latex giving way to flesh. Clothes vanished. Nothing felt awkward or rushed. Everything was deliberate, intimate. Her breasts pressed against my chest, perfect and warm, her breath catching as my fingers traced her spine. We sank onto a platform of light that appeared beneath us, like a conjured bed made of starlight and silk. She straddled me, guiding me inside her with practiced ease. Her moan echoed through the cosmos. Every movement was a ritual. We moved together, slowly at first. Her hips rolled in rhythm with mine, her hands gripping my shoulders, her mouth exploring my neck. My hands ran down her back, then up to cup her breasts. She arched into my touch, her eyes half-lidded and burning. "You were never meant to fear me," she whispered in my ear. "You were meant to embrace me." I kissed her deeply, pulling her closer as our bodies became one in the dark. Waves of pleasure built between us, cresting higher with every thrust, every sigh. Her pace quickened, and mine matched it. We were no longer separate beings. We were a single force, a pulse in the void, a union of shadow and flesh. When we came together, it was like the stars exploded. Light tore through the void. Her scream echoed through time, and I cried out with her. For a moment, everything disappeared. Fear, longing, pain, and all that remained was sensation. Pure, eternal. When the light faded, we lay together, still connected, still wrapped in the warm velvet of darkness. She curled into me, her hair cascading over my chest like a blanket. "I've been inside you all along," she said. "You just had to open your eyes." I held her tighter. For the first time in my life, I felt safe. "I don't want to wake up," I murmured. "You don't have to," she said, smiling into my skin. And then everything went still. The stillness that followed was not empty. It was full of her, of me, of something vast and unknowable between us. We lay tangled in the silk of the dream, the stars above slowing their spin as if time itself respected our union. Her fingers lazily traced symbols on my chest, ancient and indecipherable, though somehow they stirred memories in me I couldn't place. Every touch echoed with something primal. She sighed contentedly, her breath like smoke curling across my skin. "You've done more than face me," she said, her voice a gentle murmur. "You've welcomed me." "I didn't know what you were," I said softly. "I thought you were trying to destroy me." She lifted her head, strands of black hair falling across her face. "I was never the destroyer," she said. "I was the gatekeeper." "To what?" She smiled and sat up, straddling me once more, though not with lust, at least not entirely. Her eyes glowed in the dimness, like twin eclipses. "To your becoming." Around us, the space shifted again. The stars dimmed, replaced by an infinite chamber of black marble and obsidian pillars. This place was more solid than the last, a throne room built in the ruins of fear. And in its center, she stood, regal, immortal. I sat up slowly, the surface beneath me cool, but inviting. "What is this place?" "It is the heart of the dark," she said, "and now it is yours too." She raised her hands, and the walls shimmered. In every direction, scenes began to form, images from my life, childhood memories, every moment I had ever feared the dark, behind closet doors, under beds, across shadowed hallways. She had always been there, watching, protecting, testing. "You were never alone," she whispered. "I came to you as fear, because it was the only language you understood. But I've always waited, for you to grow, to see." "And the loops?" I asked. "The endless dreams?" Her expression softened. "You were not ready. So I showed you your own terror, again and again, until you stopped running." I stood and approached her. She reached for me again, and this time I took her hand without hesitation. Her form shimmered once more, shifting between monstrous and divine, clawed and caressing, brutal and beautiful. "You're both," I said, "fear and desire." "I am the unity of shadow and flesh," she said, "and so are you." Her lips brushed mine, and this time, the kiss wasn't urgent or desperate. It was reverent, a communion. clothing dissolved like ash in the wind. I kissed her collarbone, traced the curve of her breast with my mouth, felt her fingers press into my back. She was moaning now, softly, not out of lust, but surrender, as though she, too, had waited lifetimes. She lowered herself onto me again, our bodies fitting perfectly. The rhythm this time was slower, deeper. Her hair fell over my face, her thighs tightened around my hips. I whispered her name, though I didn't know it. She responded with a sigh that echoed through the vast hall. The chamber grew darker, yet warmer. Shadows danced around us like spirits, weaving into our limbs, our hearts. With each movement, our bodies became less distinct, flesh turning to vapor, pleasure into transcendence. Her cries became a song, each note stretching into eternity. When the climax came, it wasn't violent, it was silent, a hush so profound it pulled every sound from the world and replaced it with light. I opened my eyes to find her lying beside me, glowing faintly, her smile soft, eyes closed. Her body was whole, her spikes gone, no longer monster, no longer guardian, just her. "You are changed now," she whispered. "You carry me with you." "Will I wake up?" I asked. "Yes," she said, "but you'll never be the same." And then the dream began to unravel, not with fear, but with peace. The stars blinked out. The throne room faded. Her warmth lingered longest, a final gift pressed into my skin, my mind, my soul. I awoke, and for the first time in my life, the dark didn't scare me. It felt like home, but something lingered, not just her scent or memory, but her presence. I could feel it inside me like an ember, glowing low and constant. In the hours that followed, as I stared into shadows without dread, I began to notice things. Flickers in the corners of my eyes, the brush of fingers across my shoulders when no one was near. Whispers in the silence that came not from the world, but from within. The darkness no longer threatened. It comforted. It called. Each night I returned. The dreams were no longer nightmares, but visitations. Sometimes she came to me clothed in shadow, wrapped in silk and fog. Other times, she arrived naked and unashamed, curling her body against mine with slow, sensual grace. We made love in dozens of places, rooms carved from obsidian, floating chambers in space, vast forests, where moonlight bled through black-leaved trees. In her embrace, I forgot the world. I forgot the rules of fear. And I realized that she had never wanted to harm me. She only wanted me to see her, to see myself. The days that followed were dreamlike, not because I was still dreaming, at least not in the way I had before, but because the veil between waking and sleep had thinned. I moved through my world with a quiet sense of reverence, like someone who had glimpsed the divine and returned with ashes in their lungs. The dark no longer held terror for me. It was not absence, it was presence. I saw her in the spaces between thoughts, in the stretch of shadows across the floor, in the breathless hush of midnight. I began to change, not just emotionally, physically. The bags under my eyes faded, replaced by a strange luminescence that never dulled. Even after sleepless nights, my skin felt more alive, like it pulsed in time with something greater. I became more confident, more grounded. I spoke differently, looked at people differently. Something about me unsettled them, even if they couldn't say why. But I didn't care, because each night I returned to her. We no longer met in nightmares. Now our world was boundless. Sometimes we stood on the edge of a cliff beneath a black sun. Sometimes we drifted through space inside a cocoon of tendrils and breath. Sometimes she whispered ancient secrets into my ear as her hands explored my chest, her voice unraveling the old language of fear, replacing it with pleasure. One night, I asked her what she truly was. She smiled, that knowing smile. I am the truth hidden beneath the veil. I am the shadow at the corner of your eye. I am the embrace you were told to fear. You're not human, I said. No, she replied, but neither are you, not anymore. She showed me. She laid her palm over my chest, and my skin melted into shadow. I looked down and saw the dark flowing through my veins like black fire. My eyes glowed in the mirror of the void. I was becoming like her. She called it the binding, a sacred pact sealed by our union, body, soul, and shadow. I had chosen her, and in doing so, I had chosen to ascend, to leave behind the illusion of safety and step fully into the truth that had always waited in the dark. You'll still walk in the daylight, she said, but the night will always be yours. And it was. In the waking world, I became fearless. I sought out places others avoided, abandoned buildings, underground tunnels, forest paths that curled into pitch-black unknowns. The dark welcomed me like an old friend. I could hear her in the wind through shattered windows, feel her fingertips in the mist curling through the trees. I even stopped locking my doors at night. What was there to fear? One evening, I sat in my apartment, the lights off, candlelight flickering. The air was thick with her scent, jasmine, ash, and something else I couldn't name. I closed my eyes and whispered her name, not aloud, but with my soul. She appeared behind me. I didn't turn. I didn't need to. Her arms slid around my shoulders, her lips brushing the back of my neck. You summoned me, she murmured. I missed you, I said. You never have to. She stepped into me, not around me. Into her presence enveloped mine like liquid shadow, folding us into one. I moaned, overwhelmed by sensation. Her body moved with mine, merging at every point. My breath became hers. My heart beat in her chest. We melted together in silence, our flesh a singular hymn to the night. When it ended, I wept, not from sorrow, from awe. She kissed my eyelids and whispered, "You are ready." For what? I asked. To walk both worlds, to carry me where I cannot go, to bring others to their truth. The thought terrified me. Me, a messenger, a guide through shadow. But I understood. I had been brought through fire, through fear, through passion and surrender. And now it was my turn. I see them now, the others, those haunted by fear, by nightmares. I see the old signs, the flicker of unease when the lights go out, the breath caught at midnight. I know what they feel, and I wait, because soon they will dream. And she will come, and I will be there too, watching, guiding, loving, in the dark, where I belong.